Thank you. That was for Dani.
Yeah, totally. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí a todos, por supuesto, tomarse su tiempo, el venir a escuchar todo este Descúbrete Más Summit. Ha sido un día espectacular, lleno de emociones, lleno de nuevas historias, de conocimiento y muchísimo que aprender. Pero bueno, el día de hoy se cierra con broche de oro, por supuesto, y no fue suficiente aplauso el señor Bradford. This is what you've created for many, many years, and you still do. But we need to talk football first. And you're retired for quite a while. Do you miss anything about the game?
No, I don't miss anything about the game. But I often get asked the question, do I miss it? And what I do miss is the guys. The plane trips, the bus rides, the locker room, but nothing to do with on the field. Now, I played 20 years, 19 of those without missing a game. So I had my, I played plenty enough. So I don't ever feel like I needed. I'd love to have won more Super Bowls, but I don't lose sleep thinking I wish I could go back and play in this game.
Okay.
Just the camaraderie, the chemistry I had with the guys.
I don't know if you guys know, but he was drafted by the Falcons.
Was I really?
Yeah, you did.
I was.
You didn't play a snap that first rookie season, but what did you learn about that first NFL season that you took over and took it to the Packers?
Well, yes, I was drafted first by the Atlanta Falcons. I didn't play. Actually, I played probably 5 plays.
Yeah.
My first pass as a Falcon was a touchdown to the other team. But that experience was humbling, I think, more than anything, because I went from starting 4 years in college to a backup. Yeah. And no one knew who I was. No one cared who I was. So it was just a humbling experience. Did I want to play? Did I think I should play? Of course. But I had to wait my turn. And as I look back, it was a good thing. Because had I started right away, maybe we're not sitting here right now.
Yeah, correctly. So. That was actually going to be my question. Like right now, we expect the young quarterbacks to just go and make it in the NFL, and it's tough. What's the toughest situation that a quarterback could actually go and do for a team?
I think the pressure. Just take any first-round quarterback or early round draft pick. Second round, third round, and place them in a starting position. I think today it's a little bit easier, and I only say this because offenses, when you leave, when I was playing, I left college and went to the pros. The pro offense was way more complicated than the college. Mm-hmm. It's almost even now. The offenses that colleges run these days are very similar or almost exactly the same as the pro offense. So there's really not, from a mental perspective, much difference. Then you go back to when I started in Green Bay, basically as a rookie, you could say, and I got the playbook, and the playbook was about that thick. And my playbook in college was about that thick. So quite a big difference. And no one waits for you in professional football. So no one says, well, you just study and come along and we'll be waiting on you. That doesn't happen. So the good thing, and we just talked about it, for me, I got to sit a year, even though I wanted to play. I thought I was ready to play, but I wasn't. So the hard part, I think, is to come in and lead the team, learn, whether it be super complicated or not so complicated, learn that offense and perform at a high level right away. I think more often than not, you see higher draft picks fail and not have a long career, where guys that backed up early, like a Tom Brady. No one knew who Tom Brady was. The guy in front of him gets hurt. He comes in. He's 3 or 4 years into his NFL career. He's seasoned. He's ready. He's learned the offense, but he's not getting hit. Those type of players tend to last longer and have more success, in my opinion. So being thrown to the wolves right away, you may survive it, but you may not.
Well, you survived pretty well. Why Minnesota? Why the Vikings?
Well, to be quite honest with you, the Packers did want me, but they didn't want me to play against them either. And that pissed me off. In fact, Mike McCarthy was the coach at the time, and we get along great. He was just a coach at the Cowboys. And we had a heated argument before I was traded to the Jets. And he knew, well, I knew that they wanted to go in a different direction. Aaron Rodgers it was time for him to, they felt like, and I understood this, it was time for him to start playing or get a shot. He had already been with us 3 years. His contract was coming due. But the worst thing that could have happened for the Packers at that time was I had my best year statistically my last year. So that made it hard for them to, in a perfect world, I retire, I sail off into the sunset, never hear from me again. And I was okay with that to a certain degree, but I was pressured to give them an answer whether or not I wanted to play. Well, I wasn't ready to give an answer, but they didn't want to hear that. So when I finally told them, okay, I'll retire, I wasn't totally convinced I was ready to retire. I'm guilty of retiring early, but several months later, I got the itch to play again. I told them that may happen. And when it did, they didn't like that. But they couldn't just let me go. Well, they could have, but they didn't want me to go to a rival, Minnesota being tops on that list. So in that argument that Mike McCarthy and I had, it was more one-sided. It was him talking and me listening. But the one thing I did say was, so I'm not good enough to play for you, but I'm too good to play against you. And he didn't like that. And then they traded me to the Jets and probably assumed that I'd be lost forever. You'd never hear from me again. And almost that was true.
Happened.
Tore my bicep, had to have surgery. Jets released me. Minnesota Vikings called and said, let's go. And I said, if I don't take this opportunity, and initially I have to admit, I wanted a shot to play the Packers. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd say that. But I wanted a shot to play them. But then I said, well, there's 14 other games. I can't just play for 2 games. So I had to muster up the energy to play all of them. And fortunately, that was statistically my best year ever.
Well, you had a great career, MVPs, Super Bowl. Is there a record or an adventure in the NFL that you wouldn't trade for anything else in the world, especially records? They say that records are meant to be broken, but you have one, especially one, that it's pretty complicated to break it right now in the NFL, the consecutive games. Yeah. Would you like to keep that forever?
Well, I don't think there's any fool out there who wants to break that record. 321 games straight games is a long time, 19 years. And in discussions with people when we talk about that record, they go, well, you must have not got hurt very much. Yes and no. You know, I broke my thumb, my throwing thumb, in a game and played 9 games with a broken thumb. So did I ever think that I could do that? No. Did I ever think I would have to do that? No. So I was hurt. I think in regards to that record, that's what I'm most proud of, because none of the other stuff would happen if you're not playing.
Yeah.
And records are meant to be broken, but 19 straight years is a long time. But the records, or excuse me, the rule changes, I think, will, if a guy wants to pursue that record, there's a chance it could be broken, because you can't hit quarterbacks anymore.
Yeah, you cannot.
You even if you're a quarterback and I kind of look at you, they'll throw a flag on me for looking at you funny.
Yeah.
Which would have been great had I been around during those times. But so I think from a physical standpoint, quarterbacks very rarely get hit, very rarely. So they can last a lot longer if they choose.
Quarterbacks cannot get hit, but there's also rules in the NFL regarding concussions, regarding if certain protocols that you have to accomplish to go back to the game, and that didn't exist when you were playing. What came up to your mind in every game after playing with a broken thumb or a concussion that you might not have named it that way, but you went out still? Why? What?
Well, I love to play, and it's been a long time ago, but I got my start in the 3rd game of my first year with Green Bay, when the starting quarterback, who is a good friend of mine now, and I've never asked him this personally, but he was struggling in the game. They were booing him really loud, and I don't know, I'm not going to say he didn't hurt his ankle, but I don't know if it was hurt as bad as he let on, because I think he may have thought, okay, I'll come out of the game, they'll boo Brett, he'll screw it all up, and then they'll want me back. Fair, I mean, I can see that. But in fact, I saw Don, the guy I replaced, a week and a half ago, and he made the comment. We were at an event in Wisconsin, and he said, he got up to talk, and he said, if I'd have known Brett was going to play 19 straight years, I would have just been his backup, and I would have never got hit again, and I'd have made $3 million a year and rode off into the sunset. But I think Don felt like, throw Brett to the wolves, they'll want me back, sort of thing. But my point in all of it is, I got my job or got my start because the guy in front of me got hurt. How bad he got hurt, I don't know. But every time I got hurt, broken thumb, torn knee ligament, sprained ankle, torn bicep, you name it, I thought, the next guy comes in, plays well, maybe I never see the field again. And I always kept that in the front of my mind. Believe me, there were times when I didn't want to get up, but you're always giving someone else an opportunity to show them what they can do. So that more than anything was, and I love to play. And in football, you have to play hurt at times. So it's part of it.
Can the league do more regarding players, regarding conscience of concussions? This is a subject that's sensitive for you. Do you think it could be better?
I think it could be better. I'm no expert. I think where it could be better, the rule changes. I don't know if they can go any further with rule changes unless they put flags on the quarterbacks, and they're not going to do that. But I think they can steer a lot of their money towards research for some type of medicine or something that can be given on the sidelines. Helmets only most, and I think this surprises a lot of people. Most concussions occur not from head-to-head combat. they occur with what's called the whiplash effect. So you're walking and I trip you and you fall. Your body stops, the head then goes and hits the turf. That's where most concussions occur. Better helmets are not going to help that.
No.
Kids can trip and fall on the playground. Elderly person walking outside, trip and fall, hit their head on something. They're going to happen. So the rule changes can only go so far. I don't know how much better they can make the helmets, but again, the helmet's not going to stop the whiplash effect. So I think there needs to be something from a I hate to say drug, but call it what it is, some type of drug that can stop the concussion, because basically a concussion is inflammation of the brain. And if you can stop the inflammation, then you got a fighting chance. So I think that's where a lot of the attention and money needs to go.
And what would be your advice to all these players or new players that are getting there regarding safety, regarding keeping their health the way it should be? Of course, you're struggling with an illness yourself, and that changed your life. So how can you create awareness on it?
Well, what I would say to any player, and I have 3 grandsons, none of which play American football, and I don't foresee them ever playing it. They've never asked me anything about playing. They play soccer. And I know you can get a concussion in soccer, but the chances they have to be less than American football. But what I would tell even my younger self, be very cautious with your career. Going back in the game nowadays with a concussion are harder because there is protocol in place. But you go back to my era, I had concussions, and you would never dare tell the coach or ask the trainer to sit you out because you got a headache, because the concussions were not looked at as anything serious back then. Well, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's a year and a half ago, and I've seen 5 different specialists, and all 5 said if they were betting people, they would bet that football was a contributing factor. When you have 1,000, 2,000 concussions, I don't see the benefit long term from having those. So playing as long as you want is your choice. But if you've had several concussions, it's like boxing. Muhammad Ali, and I'm sure all the elder people know who Muhammad Ali is. I don't remember really him ever just getting knocked out. But he died with Parkinson's not too long ago, and it was the jabs that did 1,000 jabs versus 1 knockout blow. Which one's better? I don't know if either are better, but they both do damage. And when you keep repeating that damage, something's going to give. And I think that's like in my case, and you're seeing more and more cases of ALS or Alzheimer's or dementia in football players, suicidal thoughts, suicide. And it's all head related. So I would just caution, certainly the younger generation, so 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, does not need to be playing tackle football. I've caught a lot of grief over that. But if I'm a parent, rather than bitch and complain about me saying they shouldn't play tackle, they should look into the harmful effects of what head trauma can do, especially to an 8-year-old. So I think we need to protect our youth as much as possible by not tackling, waiting until they get older. And then as you become an adult and you're playing pro football or soccer, you've had a couple of concussions, maybe look at your future rather than the present.
An early retirement for those who have been benched because of a concussion, regarding maybe Tua?
That's a tricky one. I was, 2 or 3 major concussions within a couple of years?
Yeah.
Major concussions where as you watch the game, we're talking about the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins who had clearly been knocked unconscious. I mean, you're rolling the dice anyway, playing professional football or football in general, whether you're being paid for it or not, just because of the repercussions of the head trauma. But when you've had the major concussions that he's had at a young age, you can't tell me money's not a factor. They're paying him an enormous amount of money. They want their player. They want him on the field. I'm not saying they put him on the field too early, but maybe Tua needs to look. If he has one more, I'd be shocked if he continues to play.
Yeah, the love of the game, right? As you were saying.
Love of the game. You hate to say it, but money's a part of it. You're making $50 million a year. How much are you leaving on the table if you retire?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like my daughters, my brother Scott, he's got a young son. My friends here with me have kids. Trying to tell a 22-year-old anything and getting your message across, and they go, I totally understand and get it, is next to impossible. They know it all. Am I right? Everybody with kids, your kids know it all. It's no different in football. So you tell, as a trainer or a coach, you've had too many concussions, and maybe you want to consider retirement. That's a tough pill to swallow. But maybe that's the pill you need to swallow if you've had major concussions early in your career, especially 2, if not more. It's really a slippery slope.
If you could have had the opportunity to go back to your NFL life, what would the Brett Favre of today would tell that guy?
You know, I've also often been asked that question, and would I've done things differently, whether I had someone, my older self, talk to me or not? I don't know if I would have. You know, I think I was cut from a different cloth, but I certainly didn't. At 35, 25, I thought I was bulletproof. So what if I had a broken thumb? I was like, I can play with it. When you start dealing with head trauma, it's a total different animal. And did I ever think I'd be diagnosed with Parkinson's? Didn't even think about it. And you and I were talking about it before we came up. 50 years old, I was running half marathons. I was doing what I wanted, no pain. I thought, life is good. And granted, it is. And then at 52, it started all caving in. I had my hip replaced, 2 back surgeries, a spinal cord stimulator, Parkinson's. And now I find myself thinking, okay, what if I make 60 or 65 or 70, what does that look like? I'd be shocked if I can't remember, but at 25, if I thought, what does 45 look like? I'll figure that out when I get there. You know, so as you get older, you think about things that as your younger self just kind of brushed off, and we've all done it. You know, at 21 years old, the last thing you're thinking about is being 50. That's old. I'll never get to 50. I'm young. I'm a party and live the life. Next thing you know, you're 50. You go, 60's not that old. So I look at things differently now than I did then. But I know my present self would tell my younger self, you think you got it all figured out, but you don't. Here's the things that you probably need to focus on. And I know you're not. Your future health rather than your present health. I don't know if I would have convinced my younger self to listen. Probably not.
A while ago, backstage, I asked you that what is the value that NFL teaches you on the field that you could actually absorb and impress on your life outside the game? What is that the NFL, the game, taught you that you now do it and use it every day?
Well, you can call it however you want to call it, but I think resiliency and determination is what, when I think back to my 20 years, just like the game of life. 1 minute you're on top of the world, the next minute you're on the bottom. Then you're in the middle, you're on the top, you're on the bottom. The game of football is about highs and lows. throwing a touchdown pass and running around with my helmet off. I'm the greatest thing ever. The very next play, I throw an interception, and I'm getting booed. Like, you suck, Favre. It happens, and the game of life is the same way. We lose people. We have good times, bad times. Get a new job, greatest job ever, get fired. Managing that is so important to success, whether it be life or your job. And for me, you know, I think I was able to manage it fairly well. I wasn't the smartest player, but I knew there would be highs and lows. And which I never did, I was never going to be accused of overthinking things. If I threw an interception, so what? I'll throw another one in the very next play if that's what it takes. So I didn't let the lows get me too down. I didn't let the highs keep me too high. And I think that's more than anything why I was successful.
You're a human being in the sense of what a human being has to be. You're humble, you're determined, you're an inspiration to all of us and many millions of people. That comes with a lot of responsibility. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm honored, first of all. I'm honored that all these people would come out. I know that there's other speakers you didn't come, but I see Green Bay hats. And I see a Vikings jersey. So I know that those were not here for the other speakers. No offense to the other speakers. But I'm honored that people would still show their loyalty. And believe me, it doesn't go unnoticed. But, you know, I mean, and my brother Scott sitting out there, my older brother, we grew up about as humble as we could grow up. My mother and father were school teachers. Pardon my French, but my dad was a hard ass. He was a drill sergeant. Not really, but he came across that way. And nothing was ever given to us. And my mom and dad combined made about $32,000, $34,000 a year. 4 kids who loved to eat everything in the house, who complained when we didn't have breakfast on the table. We'd get our butts beat, and we'd recycle and start it all over again. My mother was a special education teacher. Not a lot of glory there, but she did it for 35 years. So I think being humble, look, we've all had our moments where we thought we were better than we really were. And we're humbled in various ways, but I'm just so thankful that I had an opportunity to do what I'd love to do. And I had 2 goals growing up. Fortunately, one of those panned out because I didn't have a plan 3. It was either play pro football or baseball. And had I known the odds, well, I guess the best way to put it, I didn't know the odds. Had someone really explain to me, look, son, the chances of you making pro football, I'm just going to be honest with you, are very low. I don't know if I would have changed my mentality, but I never was faced with that because the chances of you doing what I got to do, which is the only thing I wanted to do, are, you know, very, very, very small. So I'm extremely thankful, and I always have been. And even when I was in the moment and playing and winning Super Bowls or playing in Super Bowls, I was very aware that this is pretty cool. You know, I mean, I think the average, what is the average lifespan of an NFL player? We were talking about it last night, 2.8 years. Yeah. 2.8 years. That's just the ones that make it. I don't know. It's got to be an astronomical number of the players that would have told you they were going to make it, looked like they were going to make it, but for whatever reason didn't make it. The numbers are probably staggering. So I consider myself a blessed man.
Well, you are, and we are blessed to have you here. and inspire us in this way. Winning or losing, you have to choose one.
Choose what?
Winning or losing.
I think I have to take winning. Nothing like winning, whether it be the game of life, sports. But, you know, I think losing is important. In my Hall of Fame speech, I said I wouldn't, when I go back, if I could go back, I wouldn't change anything. I wish I'd have won more Super Bowls, but if you won every game you ever played in, how would you ever know what it's like? You know, losing made you appreciate winning so much more. And it taught valuable lessons. So, I mean, it's not fun, but it's necessary. I mean, if you give your kids every single thing they want, is that a good thing? No. No. Same can be said for sports. My two daughters, we played basketball or something out in the yard. And the younger one would get mad if she didn't win. She's like, "You need to let me win." I'm like, "I don't think so." Now she's thanking me for it now, but so when I think about my career, the losses, like losing the Super Bowl, absolutely sucked. There's nothing good about it. But it sure made me appreciate the one that we were able to win. So.
I don't know if you guys know, but this man over here has an amazing good taste on ice cream.
Not necessarily true. I just like ice cream.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good one or not, but he loves ice cream. He has a
Sweet tooth.
Exactly. And when you realized that you needed to take care a little bit more about your health, this is a story that he told me a while ago, but I want you to share it. He went to the doctor and they told him that his sugar levels were a little bit high. Tell them why.
Well, me and my wife like to eat chocolate-covered almonds every night. We'll usually watch a movie. We have friends over watch a movie. My wife, is there Sam's here? Sam's, like the Sam's store?
Yeah.
So my wife goes and buys these chocolate-covered almonds in bulk, like a big case, like that big. She never buys one. She buys like 12 of them. And that lasts us about 2 or 3 months, and then she'll go buy some more. Now, look, she's as guilty as I am.
Yeah.
But so I'm meeting with my doctor, and she said, your borderline A1C levels is high. You're obviously eating a lot of sugar. What are you eating? I said, well, maybe a handful of chocolate-covered almonds a night. And she looked at my hand, and she said, that's a hell of a lot of almonds, which it's my hand. It doesn't seem that big.
It is. Trust me, it is.
It holds a lot of almonds, I can tell you that. So she said, why don't Lent, you do yourself a favor and give up all almonds for Lent. And I'm honestly, I did it. The first 2 weeks, I was foaming at the mouth. My fangs were out, my claws were out, but I survived. But yeah, that's one of the things about getting older. It sucks, is your health. You have to. She said, why not just 5 or 6 almonds a night? Oh, they're so easy to put 30 or 40 in your mouth. But we've all been there. But yeah, I got a sweet tooth.
Yeah. What is next in your life? After retirement, after all this, after the movie, after what's next?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like as much as I try to stay out of the news, I don't do a good job of it. But you and I talked about this earlier, about being in the booth and calling games as an analyst. I wouldn't rule it out. I coached high school football for 2 years after I retired. I loved it. didn't get paid, didn't want money, just loved it. But I also love the free time, and we like to travel. So I'm hoping we can travel before we get too old. And it's really just, there's really nothing on the horizon that I want to do or that I feel like I need to do. That's not to say something wouldn't come up, but right now, I'm managing my health, which is becoming more and more difficult. But like I said, I'm blessed. All the things I said that are bothering me now, I was here for 3 days. Me and my 2 buddies and my brother, we played golf, had a wonderful time with several of the guys that are in this room. And my back felt like crap, but rather than complain about it, it was a beautiful day. Yesterday was a beautiful day, so we're going to enjoy the beautiful days and just see what happens.
More beautiful days in life. You had a great life, you had a great inspiration, and I think it's more than anything to thank you. To thank you for not only being here, but thank you for your career. Thank you for not sitting down one of those games in those 19 years. Thank you for being Brett Favre and inspire us and teach us what it is to be humble, what it is to be determined, and what it is to just love to your bones what you do, because that is Brett Favre. So,
well, thank you, Dani.
Thank you.
I did love what I did, no doubt. And thank you all for coming.
Brett Favre.
Muchísimas gracias. Felicidades al ganador. Thank you very much, Brett. Esto no hubiera sido posible sin Under My Wing, patrocinador que nos hizo favor de traer a Brett Favre y que estuviera con nosotros en México. Te agradecemos mucho, Dani. Gracias por participar, gracias por entrevistar a Brett. Siempre un placer. Juan Carlos, muchísimas gracias. Y bueno, queremos dar las gracias también a la